Australia, a country that embraces our shared values and cultural traditions. A country that allows those who choose to call Australia home the right to practice and share their cultural traditions and languages within the law and free from discrimination. Almost a quarter of us were born overseas and 4 million Australians speak a language other than English. Australia is as broad and diverse as the country's landscape. It's multicultural and multiracial. However, in the recent global social and political environment, threats to social cohesion, harmony and security have emerged, one of which is racism.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the inaugural exhibition held by the Muslim Women's Welfare of Australia and titled Racism Stops With Me, Be Proud of Your Identity. Unfortunately, racism does exist in Australia. According to Professor Kevin Dunn, the Dean of the School of Social Science and Psychology at Western Sydney University, 87% of Australians agree that racism is a problem in Australia and that something should be done about it. So, what is racism? Racism takes many forms. In general, it is a belief that a particular race or ethnicity is inferior or superior to others. Racial discrimination involves any act where the person is treated unfairly or vilified because of their race, color, descent, national or ethnic origin. Some of you may wonder, why talking about racism? Because we know that racism is a major social problem experienced by people from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds, particularly members of the Muslim community. We should not shy away from talking about it, and we should confidently tackle racism whenever it takes place.
My name is Khadija. I am 14 years old and I am an African Australian Muslim. During my younger years of school, many students would ask what my background was, and I would reply Sierra Leone and Guinea, and I would get responses like, "Where's that? Did your parents come here because they were starving back in Africa?" Now I am in my teenage years, and I can say with sadness that I'm used to hearing jokes about my race and culture, and now I know that this comes from ignorance. Likewise, it might surprise people to hear that I am Muslim, because Muslims these days are made out to be terrorists, but I can assure you that we are far from the things portrayed in the media, and if you actually heard about Islam directly from us, you would know how beautiful and peaceful our religion is. Overall, from all the negatives, I have experienced many more positives, and I feel that Australia has shown diversity, multiculturalism, freedom and education, and I'm happy to be an African Australian no matter what.
How may people experience racism? People can experience racism in different settings, including schools, work, and on the streets. Therefore, it is important for schools, workplaces, public and private organizations to adopt anti-racism policies with transparent complaint handling processes and reporting on outcomes. So, what is the aim of this exhibition? The aim of the MWWA exhibition, titled Racism Stops With Me, Be Proud of Your Identity, is mainly to educate the community about how to face the problem of racism, and most importantly, not to allow it to affect their day-to-day lives. We are here to promote the success stories and positive achievements which are expressed through the various wonderful artwork produced by members of the Muslim community of all ages. Also on show, we have brought to you the golden pieces of historical, deep-rooted, rich Muslim heritage that we are proud to show it off to other communities. By doing so, we hope to achieve stronger community building through meaningful community engagement. And now I'm going to explain to you the Islamic judgment about racism. قال الله تعالى يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. This ayah means, O people, God created you from a man and a woman, that is Adam and Eve. And God made you people and tribes, so you get to know each other. The most gracious among you is the most pious of you. Dear all, we are living in a diverse society, and the values of Islam offer an approach which paves the way for a more harmonious and cohesive society. These values include mercy, care, compassion, integrity, sacrifice, and inclusion. Treating people using the following approach: forgiving, forgetting, and bearing with the faults of others will strengthen the bond of brotherhood and friendship with members of the community. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent as a mercy to the world to establish the true meaning of brotherhood among humans, despite their diverse ethnic and linguistic backgrounds and regardless of their skin color. The following hadith sets the guidelines of the people's interactions with one another. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا فضل لعربي على أعجمي إلا بالتقوى. This hadith means there is no difference between an Arab and a non-Arab except in piety. The glorious words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam explicitly reveal that racism is rejected in Islam. Therefore, it is crucial that principles of Islam are well propagated so that a better understanding of Muslims and Islam is achieved and myths dispelled. In concluding my talk, I would like to say that we are living in a multicultural society, and protections against prejudice, bigotry, and hate speech are fundamental to our success as a multicultural society. In order to have a socially cohesive nation, we want these protections against racial abuse and bigotry maintained. As a country that prides itself on good values and justice, we cannot focus on fighting terrorism and ignore the growing risks of racism. To uphold our values as Australians, I would like to ask our both federal and state governments to introduce laws to counter racism as they have already introduced laws to combat terrorism. Despite the growing problem of racism in our society, the Muslim Women's Welfare of Australia will continue to work towards building a more harmonious and cohesive community.
Being in Australia, we live in harmony, we live in peace, and we've been doing that for the past, I've been doing that for the past 30 years, and my parents before that. My dad is Syrian, my mum is Australian, Lebanese background, but we live in a community where I have neighbours who are Korean, Vietnamese, Australian, and we never have issues because that's what Islam teaches us.
Thank you all for attending our inaugural exhibition, Racism Stops With Me, Be Proud of Your Identity. And I hope you will all enjoy the positive energy in this room and the company of everyone else. Thank you for listening, and Assalamu alaikum.
I'm a proud Australian.
I am a Muslim citizen
I love this land.
who will lend a hand.
To Australia, by whom we will always stand.